will need to follow my voice as it leads you into a relaxed state of meditation.
Welcome to the Hobby Grow podcast. I'm your host, Ben Owens, hobby grower and ghostwriter for the cannabis industry. Each week, we'll dive into my network of growers, hash makers, breeders, and mentors to give you insight into their journeys as growers, plus information you can use to grow better weed and make better hash at home. Hit subscribe, roll something up, and let's get into it. This episode, we are joined by Brandon, aka BC Glass, Colorado home grower and glass blower. Brandon was introduced to cannabis at a young age through his brother, and eventually picked up glass blowing the same way. After living in the Midwest in a less than legal climate, he made his way out to Colorado to grow and blow glass. As his art evolved, so did his pursuits in the home grow, including a focus on home hash making. I asked Brandon to join me today to talk about his journey as a hobby grower, growing exclusively for extract, making glass art for cannabis and coral collectors, myths about heating hash and his Creme Brulee tech, plus advice to other growers out there. How's it going, man? Thanks for
doing great. Yeah, appreciate you coming by.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me in the studio.
Absolutely.
Fun to do an on-site here.
Yep, my pleasure.
So, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about how you got introduced to the plant, and then, your journey from there towards growing into blowing glass, into art, however that journey kind of looked for you.
Yeah, so kind of a couple of different things there. So I'm a little bit older, 41. I've been smoking weed since I was like 13. Basically, my older brother, he's got 4 years on me, and he was smoking. And I remember like on my birthday, he's like, let's go. And we went to like one of his friend's house, and they had a bong set up and we smoked. And of course, the first time you get ridiculously high. But that was just my introduction into it. It was like super illegal back then. I was living in Illinois. So like access to it was like complete black market. It was really frowned upon by most people. When I was like growing up in like, late grade school, 8th grade and early high school and stuff, when I did start smoking, a lot of my friends kind of like frowned upon it. It was like, oh, you're doing drugs and this and that. And I didn't really look at it as that. I was just kind of like hanging out, smoking weed and skateboarding, snowboarding and doing that shit. But yeah, that's how I got into it. Kind of just, I feel like everyone does, through like a family member or friend who's a little bit older. Pretty basic introduction into it that way. I didn't start growing until about 10 years ago. Okay. And I got into that because I also had a family member who was kind of connected in the scene, and I wanted to move out here and just kind of make that work and have access to very affordable smoke all the time.
So you moved out here for cannabis?
Yeah, for cannabis and for the glass scene. So at the time, before I moved out here, I was living in on the Illinois-Wisconsin border, and in both states it was very illegal, and blowing glass, and I was having like ounces of rosin shipped to me because like it was so much cheaper that way. And right. I was just kind of getting afraid that I was going to get like arrested. It wasn't like a matter of if, it was just when, living out there, it seemed. So I did what I could to kind of pick up and move out here, and it was very feasible to set up a small grow, a couple of lights, and just kind of get my own thing going with it.
And so how long were you blowing glass before you moved out here?
About 4 years.
Okay. And that was coming from a previous interest in art, or just?
That was coming from the glass started as a job.
Okay.
Again, my brother, he got me into blowing glass as well.
Okay.
He has been blowing glass since probably, I would say about like 95 or 97, like right around there he got into it. What's that?
Boro?
Yeah, Boro, yeah.
Okay.
And he was just in high school, and he was a stoner who was like, yo, I want to make my own pipe out of glass.
Okay.
And at the time it was extremely frowned upon, like to be a glass blower. My parents weren't about it. Like our family like was like not about it, kind of like shunned them out because of that. And even in the boro pipe scene at the time, like making pipes was like not a good thing. You were kind of frowned upon. You know, a couple years after he got into it, Operation Pipe Dream happened, and like all this shit was going down, and pipes
Terrible
were kind of
timing.
yeah, pipes were kind of like frowned upon. But he stuck through it, and if you fast forward to like 2013ish, he was leaving one of the first, or one of the early American bong production companies, which was Fat Tubes, PHAT, Fat Tubes.
Yeah.
And they were based out of Fresno, and he left that position. He was like on the production line there. And he ended up leaving that position at the same time I had fallen out of an HR job in Chicago. And we were talking, and we were kind of just joking, throwing around the idea to start a bong company. And it kind of came to fruition. We took out like a $30-something thousand loan. We set up a lathe, a kiln, and a couple of torches in my parents' garage in Illinois. And we did the first year, we did Glass Roots up in Madison, Wisconsin, which is a trade show. And
I've been to Glass Roots.
Yeah, Glass Roots is a great event, and we did that the first year, and it was like completely eye-opening to me. I was like, holy cow, it's like there's actually like a living wage in this. And that was at the very beginning of like glass kind of snowballing into something bigger and far more profitable than just kind of like making pipes out of your garage type thing. And
So this is what, like 2014,
2014ish.
Okay.
Yeah, right around there. And you know, working with family's hard. My brother and I, we butted heads. We made it about a year maybe, and we decided to kind of go our own different ways. I ended up moving into a small little lake house in Wisconsin, and I kind of spent the next 4 years there, kind of developing the craft and kind of figuring things out on my own. My brother, at the same time, he moved out to Longmont, Colorado here, and he just kind of started doing his thing, and just kind of flying back and forth and spending time out here in Colorado and blowing glass. It just made sense. I was like, you know, whatever I can do to get out there, let me do.
And minimize the risk associated with being a tobacco pipe maker.
Yeah, out of Wisconsin. It worked out great. You know, it was feasible to get out here back then, and about 10 years ago, and made the move, and you know, just kind of fell into growing. My brother's been growing like all our life outdoor, and like there's many stories of like our parents finding like the crop and like burning it, and you know, he's
growing in the cornfields or.
Cornfields, yeah, outside by little creeks. We had a pond in our backyard with like some great soil, and you know, you could just go back a couple of acres and do whatever you wanted.
Yeah.
So he was always kind of dabbling in that, and like being out here in Colorado, where like the scene was crazy. Like literally, Longmont was known as like Bongmont for like
no idea.
Quite some time. Yeah, there's some like Vice episodes with Krishna, and he's talking about Longmont, and he's like, yeah, it's actually Bongmont, because it was like, it was ridiculous what was going on here for a while. But it was very easy to move out here and set up a couple of lights and get it going, and it just kind of made sense. I smoke weed all day, every day, and there's no reason not to set up a little grow if you.
So was your first grow outdoors then?
No, technically my first grow was indoor.
Okay.
Like, I mean, I've played with plants outdoor and like kind of dabbled with it. That was kind of more just kind of messing around and having
Convenience.
Absolutely no clue what I was doing. Yeah. And like literally just taking like 5-gallon buckets of water out of my backyard pond and just dumping it on the plants and stuff like that. That's really all I knew back then.
Yeah. So first indoor was a tent then, or you just had like a room that you would...
Small room.
Yeah.
Yep, just a small room. A couple of lights. We did HPS lights back then. That's kind of what the norm was. And yeah, we just set up the four.
You're growing clones you got at the dispensary or from your brother?
Yeah, from my brother. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I've kind of always been based off of clones. There was like a small period where I spent a few years doing seeds and kind of hunting down my own genetics, and I did that when I kind of got into the rosin end of it. It just kind of made sense.
Hunting for hash.
Yeah, you're hunting for hash. Yeah, if fast forward a couple of years, I probably started growing for flower, and then did that for like 3 years, 4 years maybe.
Okay.
We ended up kind of getting, like, when BHO started becoming big out here.
Yeah.
When like we had the big names like Diamond Baron and TNT and like all that, and like we were getting like those baller jars for like $1,600
that were just rocks.
Yeah, we were like, holy shit, and we're like, cool, we want to do that as well. So we ended up like investing into a closed loop and the whole setup, and we brought out some friends from Michigan who were very prominent in the scene at the time with BHO, and they taught us the whole SOP and all that, but the whole endeavor ended up going south very fast.
Because of the team or like
the team
safety? Oh, okay.
Yeah, the whole situation was bad. The location, the people, the friends that we were having run it, it just wasn't working out for a few different reasons. And out of spite, I kind of went my own separate way there, and I was like, I'm just gonna like make rosin. And I watched like the really early Frenchy cannoli videos. And there's like two that are like the ultimate holy grail for like my style of tech from Frenchy. And then at the time there was like a handful of people that were very vocal about the tech and process, and there was a lot to be learned just by watching. Like Diet Funk was one of the really big locals who was like kind of like putting a lot of the information out there, and we were able to get it and kind of figure out how to kind of adapt what he was doing and what they were doing into like our setup.
Okay.
So there was a lot of learning through that.
So this was pre 2020, pre like 2019, 2018, or when did you start?
Yeah, this is probably it's probably like 2017, 2018-ish. Yeah.
So at sort of the peak of BHO being.
Right at the peak of BHO is when I started messing around with rosin.
Okay.
And it was literally like when there was like the whole debate. Like everyone was like, what's better?
Live rosin.
Yeah, and like there was actually a debate about it. And it was like, all right, this is ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, and it was crazy. I mean, like getting quality solventless. I mean, there was like when I first moved here, it was 2015. And like I remember there being hash rosin shatter, like 2016 at like Pharmaceuticals on Med.
Oh yeah.
And that was like from Kraft, and it was like sour TNG and still some of the stupid fire, but like that was rosin. Like there was no micron, there was nothing, no nomenclature as far as what I was smoking. But then it wasn't until fast forward 3-4 years, and then now all of a sudden everybody's smoking rosin.
Yeah.
So you were growing now, or you are growing exclusively for extract then, or do you keep?
Yeah, mostly for extract. Yeah,
Okay.
like with the amount that I do, the plants that I do, I'm able to get plenty of rosin out of it, and I can keep like colas, and I can keep parts of plants or whole plant if I want, and dry that for flower.
Okay.
For convenience.
And you're indoor now as well?
Yeah, strictly indoor.
Okay. Do you just do kind of one big, or do you like have a perpetual setup, or do you do like a crop at a time?
Just one crop at a time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you
Like I'll have it's a small room,
same small room that you.
Yeah, I've been using the same room the whole time. It's a 4-lighter, and then I have another small room that I kind of divided into two for clones and just vegging out, just so I have my backup ready right away. I'm in a soil-based tuber. I don't drip line or anything like that. I hand feed. I'm very adamant about that. You are what you eat. So a lot of rosin that we see around here, I feel is the same.
Okay.
You get a lot of similarities, a lot of same nodes from the jars because they're using the same food to feed these plants and they're using the same medium.
Yeah.
And a lot of the drip tech is kind of taken over in the area, and
Like irrigation and like blue mats, or like.
yeah, just the whole automation,
Okay.
just to get away from hand watering and stuff like that. And I get the need and the desire for that, but unfortunately the systems aren't really capable of running like a nutrient line that gets thicker, that's water soluble or more viscous, won't really handle in the drip lines as well and clog up, and it makes it a little bit more inconvenient.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's why a lot of people are running the same nutrients, because there's a specific nutrient line that seems to do the best through the dosatron systems, which is fine. I get it. Yeah, it's just, on a small scale for what I'm doing, it would be like me shooting myself in the foot. It's unnecessary, and I get, with my setup and system, a far more desirable product, in my opinion.
Did you have to learn that the hard way? Like, were you running
I learned that very easy, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I actually just took basically what I was doing for growing flower when I first started 10 years ago. I learned from like a super old OG head, like who's been growing for like his whole life.
Straight for the head stash flower.
Yeah, yeah. He was like he's a local out here, and he, like, when I met him 10 years ago, he was been growing for like 30 years or something, and he's like, here's a recipe. He literally gave me a piece of paper with like 12 bullet points and like a little bit of notes on like some specifics on how to mix.
Okay.
So I was like, cool. I went down to Way to Grow, fucking showed them the list, and like they gave me everything. They're like, here you go. And
just mix it together.
Yeah, so and that worked great for flour. And there was a few things that I tweaked out, over the couple of years. But when I started making rosin, I did not tweak that out at all. I just continued using the same line as I did. The issue that I ran into was the strains that I was running for flour that were great, like Gorilla Cookies, the OG Girl Scout, like some Banana OG TK stuff. Like there was, they were great for flour. And like you would look at it and it was like just covered in trikes and
tastes good, smells good,
tastes great, smoked great. It just had all the check boxes for flour. And then I remember the first time I washed my room and I hit like 0.9% on the whole room.
Damn.
Yeah, and
but it was fire.
It was pretty good. It was all right. Yeah, but it was like, oh man, it was a shock. I was like, oh shit. And I have a couple of friends who were around at the time who kind of like dabbled in it with me with like part of their grow and stuff, and very similar experience. Like in the beginning, it was like 1.2% across the board, and average.
They were flower hitters. They weren't.
Yeah, and that was very discouraging. But I was able to get past that. I was able to reach out to some friends that I had who were a little bit more aware of the strains and what washed better, and they were able to give me stuff that washed. Okay. And once I got those strains, continued using the same line, and it worked out great for the rosin. The whole process of freezing, washing, and pressing, the final product was really good, and I just kind of ran with it. And at the time, I didn't really know. I was just like, "This is what you get from a plant."
Right.
And I was like,
"This is your baseline."
Yeah, I didn't really know. And over the years, as more people kind of got into the rosin thing, I kind of would see the jars, and I was like, "Oh my God, like your guys' jars these are not right. Like whatever you guys are doing, you're doing it wrong." And it wasn't everyone, of course, at the time, but back then it was like a lot. Like 8 out of 10 people were doing it wrong.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't that desirable of a product.
Just meaning like darker product, or
darker product, not clean smoking,
okay.
Not clean, like
a lot of residual on the nail.
A lot of residual on the nail, not knowing what bags to wash in, not knowing what bags to press in.
Okay.
So like there was heads in the material that you wouldn't want. So
right. Rosin shouldn't be.
Yeah. And that's kind of in that era. That's just how it was. Like we were straight up learning. Like
Right.
at the time when I got into it, like I said, it was like there was 2 videos online with Frenchie that were the absolute holy grail, and like BC Bubble Man had a couple of things out there, but the 2 that Frenchie had were, and they still are in my opinion, like the holy grail.
Do you remember what they're called?
I don't remember what they're called, but there's
Okay.
one where he's on the back porch,
Okay.
and he's just sitting it looks like he's in Washington. He's on the back porch around some pine trees.
Yeah.
And then the other one is he's inside of a pole barn.
Okay.
And it literally looks like there might be dirt, like a dirt floor, but he's in a pole barn, and he's got his assistant helping, and he's
Okay.
got one of the blue washing machines, and it's like the holy grail. Like if you don't know how to make rosin,
Start there.
you watch that, and now you know how to make rosin.
So did you start with a machine then, like a bubble?
I started hand washing,
Okay.
and
And air drying.
no, I got in a little bit after the air drying, and when the harvest right was just kind of like coming into it.
Yeah.
So I did get my hands on a harvest right
From the jump.
from the jump. Yeah,
That's nice.
Yeah, I was able to get my hands on that, and but I was hand washing, and that was a hurdle. You know what I mean? Like when I first started, I was like, let me fill this bag up, and I fucking put a lot of material in there, and like I'm like I put the paddle in, I'm like, oh fuck, this is too much material.
Can't move. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I try and lift it out, and I can't even lift it out, and like I remember back then I had like a hook in the ceiling. I put a hook up there, and I have this Harbor Freight cart that you can foot pedal, and it lifts.
Okay.
And I would lift the cart up like 4 feet or so like that, and I would have a strap on the hook, and I would grab the bag, and I would release the cart so it would go down, and the bag would suspend. And like I had so much material in there, it wasn't draining. It was just holding. I remember like it was such. I was like, oh my god, what do I do?
Yeah.
Figured it out, like shook it and got it out, but like many like wild stories washing by hand and figuring it out, and like the by hand wasn't for me, and like
Okay.
I had a bunch of issues with it, and like I didn't want to repeat those issues, so I was like,
Yeah.
let me look into it, and like that's when I saw Frenchie doing his thing with the machines. Like literally they're advertised on Amazon for college dormitories.
Right.
They're just like an agitator on the bottom and nothing else, and that's why I liked them. The Bubble Man machine had a lot of corrugation on the side,
Yeah.
and like it had these weird like spaces that water could get into.
Right.
And I quickly was not a fan of that. And I saw Frenchie's tech, and I was like, well, that's the route. So I went with that. And at the same time, here in the glassblowing shop, I was kind of learning about saw cutting and working with the wet saw.
Okay.
And it's a very important thing for us to be able to tone the wet saw down on speed. And I have a variable
Like a fan speed control.
variable speed control, and I was like, let me try this, and like I brought it to the room, and I hooked it up, and I was able to control my machine with it.
Like a gas pedal.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, this is where it's at right away.
Right.
And I stumbled on that really early,
Okay.
right into the process of rosin, and that was kind of something that I feel helped me stand out a lot in the beginning as well, of just making a cleaner material, rather than having a lot of abuse to it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, lucked out with the freeze dryer starting as well in the beginning too.
Yeah, because like I said, like with the BHO thing, that venture went south fast, and it was kind of like an out of spite thing. I was like, all right, I'm gonna figure out how to make rosin, and I'm gonna fucking do this myself. Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? And I
So
was
were
like,
you hair straightener pressing, or you bought a press too?
no, I had like this cheap, I don't know the name of it. It was like a cheap flower press, maybe
Okay.
like, and actually it was like $9,000 or $1,000 back then. You could press like maybe like a gram to like 3 grams of flour at most.
Okay.
And I experimented with that maybe 5 times, and I absolutely hated it. I was like, I don't really care about flour rosin. It just kind of was like dirty and definitely inferior to like the diamonds that we were smoking.
Right, it wasn't BHO clarity. And,
yeah, I was like, fuck this. I mean, it was cool. It was fun. You know what I mean? Like as like a little hobby
cool for
thing.
like it's a demonstration, right? You're like, oh, you have flour,
and that's exactly what homies would come over. I'd be like, let's press some bud and we'll take a dab, and it was like a little like science experiment.
Or sampling, like to your point, if you don't know if it's a proven washer, like being able to throw an eighth on there. And
yeah, I didn't even know. I might have tried a little bit of that, but even then, like I wasn't even thinking like I could see X amount come out of this bud and then correlate that to like what I would get on the wash,
right?
Like the way we can do like with like a cold jar shake now.
Yeah.
I wasn't even close to being aware of that at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where did you start sourcing hash genetics?
I've got a couple of friends across the country in Northern California
that are hunting their own, or
yeah. I have a friend in Northern California who was like really connected. Like he was like way connected up with like the biggest names in Cali at the time who were doing like the craziest shit, and like they sent me like the real like sherbet and like cookies and like all sorts of stuff. And I was super fortunate for that.
Yeah.
It was great. And then I also had a friend in Michigan who helped out. And even now, like I've got friends all over the country.
Okay.
Who are like.
So you're not necessarily buying cuts or like seeking out, like.
No. Now, to me, it's very important to have cuts. Like my space is very limited, and I don't like to seed pot because of that. It's a lot to find a true elite. So it's important to me to get like a nice cut, and like I have some friends, multiple friends now that I've made trades with, whether if it's like a tech, like I've shared now how I heat tech my product. It's a little bit different than everyone, and I've also traded like glass pipes for genetics as well.
Yeah, nice to have.
Yeah, I mean, it's inherent that like growers have a little bit of extra money they want to spend, and I end up in communication with them, and like I always like throw it out like when I find someone who's got like good genetics and stuff. Like there's a guy out in St. Louis, New Moon Hash. He does like awesome material, and like he's got like flavors that I'd never see anywhere else, and like we're kind of like talking about it.
Is this the guy that made the full melt joints that we were talking about last time?
He didn't. He wasn't involved in those.
Oh, okay.
He probably he's in the same area. They probably know each other and have collabed on stuff before.
Okay.
But that's Mr. Hash Cones, or that's I can't remember off the top of my head who that was. Yeah, but the hash cones were really cool. Yeah, out in St. Louis. Yeah, they're doing some cool things out in St. Louis. Yeah.
Missouri's they're stepping it up, man. I went to school in Missouri, and weed was not legal. But Colombia decriminalized it in the 90s. So again, you're living this sort of weird limbo of like it's not really a crime, it's low priority, but it is a crime.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I'm like, man, if I could go back now, knowing what I know, like at those prices for everything, like I would grow so much pot, make so much hash.
Oh, and same thing like in Illinois, and like even now, like now that I know what I know, like before I was like so afraid. I was like, one plant, you're gonna get caught.
Right.
And like I feel confident you can go into any state of our country now, no matter how restricted it is on marijuana, and you can set up 1 light, 2 lights, and grow 4 or 6 plants and get away with it 100%. As long as you're not doing don't be out there doing stupid shit.
Shut up.
Yeah, like, don't be out there doing stupid stuff.
Broadcasting it.
Exactly.
Inviting people into your grow.
Exactly. Yeah, it's definitely something that I would recommend, especially in those states where prices are high and stuff, and like.
And you have no idea what you're getting.
It's hard to get your hands on good material, and even then though it's a little difficult. Like so as a consumer in a state who might be newer to it or kind of confined to having to buy from a dispensary or the black market,
right?
They're not going to have the knowledge or know to grow, and it's not like you can just jump in and do it, because it's a little overwhelming. Like even as I remember when I first got into it, and I didn't know anything. Like I was very amateur about it. I didn't know what was going on at all. And I was starting to do research, and it was almost overwhelming because there's so many things to learn from, like,
So many ways to get there.
so many ways to get there, and so many people who are so opinionated about it.
Right.
And for that, I find if you have someone who is very knowledgeable, who you trust, and they have like their flower in front of you, they're like, look, I grew this, and you enjoy smoking that, and they're giving you advice, just to like focus on that one, whatever advice they're giving you, you know what I mean? And just at least focus on that until you learn and you're kind of up to speed on everything that's going on. And then branch out and start, you know, doing things and changing stuff up, whether if it's medium, nutrients, processing end of it, whatever end of it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, it's something that we learn as we learn any skill, but there's only so many mentors you can have. You know, whether that's a YouTube channel or whether that's a literal person standing over you, but you can't follow all of the advice.
Yeah, it's way overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you brought up, you know, the overlap between growers having, you know, some extra bartering or cash as far as the pipe scene.
Yep.
And I wanted to talk to you about this because, like, I was big into heady glass, say 2015 to 2019. I mean, I still, you know, I'm into it, but I'm not active the way I was during that sort of
For sure.
golden moment in Denver.
Everyone kind of goes in and out.
But so how, like at that time, we were at this like peak where glass was just selling for all these inflated. You go buy a pipe retail in Denver, you sell it online for double the same day.
Yeah,
know,
like the COVID times.
Yeah, like, and even a little bit pre-COVID, like 2017, when, you know, they do a mothership drop at Illusions, and all of a sudden anybody who can get one go sell it for double online.
Yeah.
You know, and that there was a lot of extra cash around.
Well, there was a lot of that going on in the pipe scene, as well as everything else.
Yeah.
Like at the same time when those pipes were getting flipped and doubled up on like that, the same thing with like the tech industry with graphics cards.
Yeah.
Shoes were crazy. They still are. The shoe thing is one thing that's kind of continued on, and like the collectible card thing.
Right, yeah.
But like there are avenues that were very similar to the pipe scene, because like I remember at the same time, like when pipes were going crazy, I built a computer and I had to go get a graphics card, and I couldn't believe what was going on.
Yeah.
Literally paid some guy $1,000 for his spot in line that he slept at for 4 days for this. It was ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like it was like very similar to like the pipe scene. And fast forward to today, it's dead.
Right.
Like it's not the same thing. Everything goes in phases.
Do you think that the price, like that the way the weed market changed with legalization impacted that? Like growers just not getting as much per pound, the industry not having as much money, and
Could be, yeah. I mean, it's hard to say specifically.
Okay.
I definitely think there's a lot of things that influence it. Definitely, the weed industry and everything taking a hit. Everything that's going out in California is pretty wild. Like when you talk to people in California and you hear prices, it's shocking.
for weed or for glass?
For weed.
Okay.
So like what you're saying,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you know what I mean, like the income
Like
and
what
like
the farmer's actually getting.
yeah, what the farmers are actually getting out there is drastic. It's crazy low right now, and the more you go east, it gets a little bit better. You know, we're kind of in the middle here in Colorado.
Yeah.
But I think that has a little bit to influence on the pipe scene and the kind of lack of sales that you might hear some people talking about. I think it has a little bit to do with it. You know,
Okay.
as anything, it evolves.
Yeah.
It's evolved on the artist end as well as the collector end. All the collectors who are very adamant about glass and the scene and what's going on are more aware of who the big names are, why they have the big name, the work that they're putting out, what quality work is. So I think it's become more focused.
Okay.
There's still like a great scene out there. Like right now is like probably the best time for my glass career.
Okay.
You know, and I unfortunately have friends who I see who are talking and complaining about sales and maybe struggling a little bit more. And there's no one path to the glass scene. It's art. So like there's, you know, I have friends who have taken various paths and made it to the top and not made it to the top, and it's, it's hard to say one way or the other which is the right path. But with glass, I just, I'm a big fan of hard work.
Yeah.
You put in hard work, and the industry is going to reward you for it. And that's all I've really been trying to focus on is working hard, making my pieces as clean as possible. I am very fortunate to have a design that is unique and not very replicated. There's a few people who are doing in-cycler stuff, but not quite the same as mine, and it just kind of puts
Unique
me more
function
in it.
as well as the
The
form.
function, the form, it's kind of got a little. I'm in my own little niche with it, which has been very beneficial on like the momentum of keeping things going with the glass for sure. But mainly, with that and just working hard, like that's my main focus. I've recently got into cold working and faceting, maybe about a year ago, bringing that into it. Just anything I can bring into the pieces to make them nicer, I'm trying to do. And I feel the more we stand out now when the industry's kind of taking this little dip, it's very beneficial for those of us who are going to try and stay here and keep this as a career to stand out now, because it will come back. The industry's gone up and down many times since I've been in it.
Right.
And when it goes back up, like those who are really established right now are just going to benefit that much more to that swing.
Absolutely. I mean, even 2017, 2018, you walk into a shop and you're like, oh my God, that's a 2009 banjo. Like, where the hell did you find that? This is 10 years later and it's still got that name attached, or pick an artist that's been the last man standing, kind of to your point, like you can stick around.
We might not ever see the crazy hype that we saw during COVID.
Yeah.
Like the glass sales were very intense.
Well,
and
there's free money being handed
skyrocketed.
out.
Yeah, it was high, And honestly, that was I did not benefit from that time as much as I wish I could have.
Okay. Were you doing the same designs, or has that been a recent evolution of your
That was
style?
kind of when I was developing my design.
Okay.
So, like, I spent the early part of my career making mothership knockoffs.
Okay.
And when I got when I first started blowing glass, it's kind of like who I learned from. Like my brother's style was like, who's making the best stuff, and like let's replicate that. And that's kind of like where I came from. So like when I got my lathe and I was doing my own thing in my little shop in Wisconsin, I was like, who's making the craziest pipe right now? And it was the mothership team, and they were making the fat bag.
Yeah.
So I was like, let me figure this out, and like this is what I'm gonna learn on. And I was very naive and arrogant at the time, and I figured it out, and I ran with it, and I ran with it really hard, and I was able to kind of develop my own end of it off of their design. I did come up with like a variation that was more unique to mine, but still, no matter what, like I stood out as a mothership knockoff artist.
But you learned techniques, I would imagine, like for glass blowing. You
Oh God,
put
yeah,
in
no.
the reps, like
I learned, yeah.
It's like growing the same strain over and over again. Like at the same time, you're learning all these other
100%, yeah. Like you'll hear glass artists preach to newer people coming up, like make 1,000 pipes before you do anything else, and like that was my pipe that I made 1,000 times type thing.
Okay.
So I absolutely learned all sorts of technique and built my skill and ability on a lathe. With that design. But with that said, I came out here to Colorado, and very early into living out here and getting into everything, some of my other friends who were blowing glass started to develop a bigger name, more traction in the glass industry, and they were developing their own piece and their own pipe design, and I was watching them make a name for themselves with that. And my friend was super nice about it and was like, yo, like you should stop making this and like try and come up with your own thing. And it was really hard for me.
Yeah.
Still to this day, I will say that it's easier to learn how to blow glass than it is to come up with a new pipe
Okay.
that is truly authentic. Like it's very, very difficult to like actually come up with a pipe and it be functional and
the design not be something that's been seen before.
yeah, it's very difficult. And that's why you see a lot of very, very talented artists coming up in the industry who are taking a lot of influence from multiple artists, and you'll see like kind of mosh poshes of stuff and that's great. You know what I mean? Like we all get influence from wherever we get it from, and we're gonna input that into our work. That's just how life goes.
Right.
So yeah, my homie was like, "Yo, you got to stop making these eggs and these mothership look like pieces. You got to like come up with your own thing." And it was very difficult. And I went on a hiatus probably for like 2 years from the glass scene, and kind of focused on coming up with a new design. And I wasn't taking any orders. I kind of just like backed away, took a step back from like the sales end of it, and was just kind of like,
how nice to be able to do that though.
Yes, and I was very fortunate to be able to do that because of like kind of having it grow and like being able to like having
other avenues.
Yeah, just a something to lean back on. Right. Still, I was making like sales here and there on like one-offs and stuff. Yeah, but it wasn't like I was going balls to the wall with it like trade shows and like what I was originally familiar with. So I spent like 2 years coming up with like different designs and making stuff, and there was a design that I had hit on, and it was funny because like when we hang out with our friends, we kind of influence each other, and my one homie at the time was very influential, and we were kind of going back and forth on something, and he was also going to another shop, and like at the same time we both, like myself and this other artist, kind of came up with a very similar design. And the other artist kind of went with it harder, so I stepped back from that. So I was like, all right, kind of hit the drawing boards again. And probably spent like a year like making like what I would say would be very obvious like attempts at new pipes. Mm-hmm. Like you'll see like a sphere above a base with like uptakes and stuff, and like very
some
obvious
crazy draining or something.
Yeah, and a drain coming off of it, and like very obvious attempts for like coming up with something new. And I remember we were FaceTiming, my homie and I had this piece with like a sphere and a couple of uptakes on it, and we're dabbing and smoking, and like he's like, "Why don't you just sleeve over it?" And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Just like sleeve over it, over the sphere." He's like, "Get rid of the uptakes and sleeve over it." And I was like, okay. And like that was early in the morning, and like that day I came out to the shop and like kind of tinkered around, and I was like, I think I can do this. And that's when I came up with the first prototype of the inner loop. Okay. And like the shaping was like super whack and like just like totally unproportional. But that was the first basis for the inner loop. And like I pulled it out of the kiln, and like there was like some function that was going on that was cool. Like there was like some bloop and stuff like that. And
do you still have it? Did you keep the prototype?
I think I do have the number one in my case in there. And then there was probably like 15 prototypes around that, like a couple before it that are kind of like on the route to it, and then a couple of after it where like you see me like really adjusting the shape that like my local homies have. Okay. They just kind of have around.
Yeah, I saw one at Rare's house.
Yep. David's got one of the earlier ones, sandblasted. That was a really cool project, being able to make a pipe for a friend that like alone, like to have a friend that supports me means like a lot alone. And then to be able to like customize it for his brand was like just another super level. Yeah, so I was able to put like all his Rare logoing and like some text on it and stuff, and it was really cool for that. Yeah.
Very cool. No, I love seeing, like, I love that having moved to Longmont, now finding all these other connections that I already had. I mean, like, you and I met at the deli. Yeah. But I already had your phone number because of Chad in Illinois, you know? So it's wild how small the world is that we play in. Yeah. And so on that note, glass obviously has a lot of relationship with your interest in plant and plants, but you are also blowing glass for non-cannabis plants too, correct? You have the
So currently now I'm doing a product for the aquarium industry.
Okay.
They're called bubble cups.
Bubble cups.
And on Instagram, it's like bc.bubblecups or bc.bubble.cups.
Okay.
And if you just go onto my main Instagram page, it's got the link for it as well. But yeah, so it's basically a way to display corals in a fish tank, in a saltwater aquarium. You can do it in freshwater as well if you want to do it planted. I have a friend in Seattle who has a planted tank who has a couple of them in there. It's a little bit more rare for me to find someone who is on the freshwater end who wants to do it. It's more kind of adapted to the saltwater.
Okay.
But basically, it's a sealed vessel that gets anchored to the bottom of the tank, and it's buoyant. So you can suspend it at a specific height of your tank that will benefit
It's like a pedestal.
It's like a pedestal. Yep, it's like a floating pedestal.
Yeah.
And you can put a coral on it.
Okay.
And display it.
And how did that start?
So I've always been into like saltwater reefs and stuff like that. When I was back in college, I had fish tanks and saltwater stuff, and fell out of it. Fast forward to about like 2023, maybe the end of 23, the beginning of 2024. And I just kind of got back into aquariums. I was talking about it, and I was like, yeah, I'm just going to start up a fish tank. Went to the local fish store, Biggs Fish Aquarium here in town,
Okay.
and was just kind of shopping around, talking to them, and got back into it and set up a tank. And the guys at the store, they're really cool. They got to know me and what I do for a living. And one of them kept on asking me for like 6 months. He's like, can you make me something to float corals in my fish tank? And I was like, bro, I don't know. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he kept on asking me for like 6 months. And finally I had like some freed up time in my schedule, and I kept on telling Nick that I would do it. And so I attempted it, and what I was thinking didn't work at all. It was like totally a failure. And then I was like, how am I going to make this work? And then I further thought of it through and kind of came up with something way more developed, and landed on the bubble cup,
Okay.
which I have now. And it's really a nice product.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's interesting to market to the aquarium industry. Like the pipe end of it, you know, we've spent so many years developing our names and kind of turning this from like making pipes and bongs into art.
Right.
And once we kind of transfer into that art end of it, we're making relatively good money. You know, there's a range. You know,
But you could also have the freedom to do like in Calma, or you do, you know, put millies in it, or
yeah,
you know, like, balls to the
we're
wall,
making
whatever
art.
you
We're
want.
making art at that point, and we're
Right.
selling it as art, and we're getting art values for it.
Yeah.
And now when we're talking about art, it's crazy. We get to be selling a $500 piece of art or a $90,000 piece of art,
Right.
and we are doing that in the pipe scene. There's that range
Oh,
is
yeah.
that range is there.
if not higher.
Yeah. And I'm not up there.
Yeah.
I have a decent name developed in the glass scene. I don't consider
Okay.
myself like a crazy big name. It is out there. It surprises me how many people do like know my name, and I'm humbled by that all the time. But with all that said, like the wages that I make in the pipes and making the pipes don't really transfer into making the bubble cups. So
Okay.
I'm dabbling in it.
Because they're seen more as what, like a functional add-on versus like art.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
So it's like scientific glass, in that respect. Like it's not seen as, again, like art. It's for a very specific function.
Yeah. So yeah, at that point in my career where I had to come up with a new design and kind of reestablish myself. It was kind of weird, you know, like I was venturing into the unknown. Like I wasn't sure if I was going to even come up with something that would
With the
be
bubble
successful.
cups.
Oh no, this was with my glass pieces with
Okay,
the
yeah.
inner loops, yeah, with the actual new design of the inner loop. You know, before that I had very established avenues for sales, whether it was through the trade shows, Glass Roots, Glass Vegas, or stores that I've been in communication with over the years, whether if it was like Puff Factory, Hetty Hideout, Hetty Hawaii. There's been stores throughout the country that have been very supportive. So kind of venturing into the unknown and coming up with a new design was a little bit scary as far as that. But I was watching at the same time my good friend kind of doing it for himself, and I was watching him propel his name into a higher bracket for, say, of sales and more art and kind of more appreciation and acceptance.
A different type of collector too.
Yeah, different type of collector. And it was kind of something that I've always wanted and I wasn't achieving with what I was doing. So it was very apparent that I had to kind of step it up and make a change and do what was needed. So yeah, that's when I spent about 2 years prototyping, coming up with the new design. And when I did that, luckily I already had kind of like a foot in the door in the industry. I knew a lot of collectors. I knew a lot of store owners. I kind of knew what I needed to do and where I needed to go with it. And the input was great right off the bat. Everyone really liked the direction I was going with it. The feedback I was getting was starting to build up more, and I was starting to kind of see the things that I wanted to out of the industry. So I kind of stuck with it very hard and just dialed it in and turned this into the new piece that I kind of made, quote unquote, 1,000 times. Quite haven't made 1,000 of them yet, but
yeah.
It's the design that I've been focusing on and dialing in. Even today, after I've made as many as I have, I'm still kind of like find things that I like to tune and kind of change up a little bit and refine as much as I can.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm even seeing like this one has like the hookah attachments.
Yeah, the hookah is a new thing. That was recommended from one of my collectors, Nick, out in Ohio. For a couple of months, he was like, "Can you make me a hookah?" And I was like, "What the fuck do you mean?" And he's like, "Make me like a hookah, like put some like I want 3 hoses coming off the top." And I thought about it, and it really just made sense with my design. I was like, "Yeah, this is completely
Easy
makes
adaptation.
sense." Yeah. So he got me to make one, and I sent it to him, and he just absolutely loved it. I had another collector out in the UK, same thing, get it, loves it, and it's kind of like I see him treating it like a science experiment, like we were talking before. Like it's fun to hang out with your friends and kind of smoke together, and like even when you're solo, I see him doing like 3 bangers in it now. Okay. They'll put 2 in the top and then 1 in the main joint.
Oh wow!
And they'll smoke the 3 bangers at once out of it, which is like it's fun, It's something different you can do with it. But yeah, once I came up with this design and I got it dialed in, I started to gain a little bit more traction. Collectors were starting to recognize me. Artists were starting to recognize me a little bit more, and gaining the artist recognition is probably the most important part of it for me. At that point, that I feel like the artist, more so in the past, but have always kind of had a say in like what becomes big in the industry and like what is right and what is wrong. And gaining attention from some of the bigger name artists, it felt good, driving me to kind of make them as good as possible. And that opened up the doors with collabs, and the collabs just opened up the next doors with bigger name artists, which has kind of helped me further establish the pricing that I'm in, and kind of the middle tier bracket that I'm kind of in at the moment with it. And before, when I was doing the eggs, I just couldn't get near where I am now or what I wanted. And thankfully, with a lot of hard work and having this design, I've been able to get more close to where I would like to be.
No, I think that's evident. I mean, it's cool to see. We're doing an audio podcast, but sitting here next to all of the rigs, it's cool to see the evolution and the differences. That you've been able to pull different styles together with. So and these are hash rigs, right? They're designed for hash. Have you always made pieces, like you started with the ships? Were you always making pieces for hash?
No. So like when my brother and I started the bong company, that was for flour.
Okay.
You know, we were making bongs for flour, and you know,
Bowls, spoons.
bowls,
and-
dry pipes,
Yeah.
you know, anything to smoke flour out of, and you know, just kind of learning. And at the same time, you know, maybe a couple of years into blowing glass was when there was like a heavy transition from like flour to like hash only, where like I probably went through like maybe like 3 or 4 years of smoking nothing but hash, like no flour. And that was when I started making pieces strictly for hash.
Okay.
Like there was some stuff that like sometimes I would make a sale, and like the collector would ask for like a flour bowl, and I would make it or whatnot. But like a majority of my career has been making stuff for hash.
And
Yes.
growing for hash, I guess that trends naturally.
Absolutely, yeah.
No, that's
Yeah.
been cool to hear and to see.
You know, within the glass scene, I feel like it's a little bit harder to sell a pipe for say $1,000 to a flower market. You know, flower bongs. Don't get me wrong. There are artists who are selling bongs all day for $1,000. You know,
Right.
and they're even and more and stuff. But for like a newer glass blower coming in, it's probably more feasible to go the route of making rigs for smoking hash
For the higher end.
to get into the higher end of it.
Well, and that makes sense just based on the price of the product. You
Yeah.
know, if you're a hash consumer, you're likely spending a lot more money there.
Yeah, and it really focuses down the percentage of people who are actually capable or interested in your work. Majority of the consumers who are consuming flour or hash, dabs or whatever, they don't really care about like the full quality of it, and they don't really care about what they're smoking it out of. So like we just drastically like the more like you get into the art end of it, we're just drastically like cutting down our market base and the people who would potentially be interested in it.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, I mean, same with growing, right? Like the people who just casually grow, the people who grow indoors, the people who grow indoors for hash, there's a significant narrowing there.
Yeah.
And on that note, do you have anything specifically that you do that has helped growing for hash? Like a specific, like you said you didn't change your feeds, but do you train specifically or use any sort of specific?
So I got lucky with it. We were talking about before how I'm using the same tech and everything for what I was doing for flour into rosin, and luckily what I was doing for flour before inherently works great for rosin.
Yeah.
And I like in the beginning I really wasn't as aware of it, but as the years have gone on, and setting up different grows with friends and doing different techniques and literally replicating what I've done here elsewhere, I'm confident that the whole saying "you are what you eat" is the same thing for the plants. What they eat heavily determines on the final product outcome of what it's going to taste like, especially with plants. These plants, they're flowered in 9-week periods and vegged under 6-7 week periods as well. So the lifespan of these plants are very short, and there's a vast, vigorous amount of growth, and it's because of the food that they're eating. So I'm a huge proponent of the nutrients and what we feed these plants are going to either benefit our rosin or it's going to be detrimental to it.
Totally. Yeah, no, I could see that. I mean, it's, I've heard from a lot of people that organics and sunlight, make a massive impact on the resin. I guess, especially if we are resin farmers, if that's just what we're farming, we don't care about the biomass, then.
There's definitely an impact. I personally can't say one is more advantageous than the other, but I do know for a fact that once you get into the sun-grown stuff, like your whole head range shifts up a whole bag. You know what I mean? Like what we would consider like 70U indoor is probably going to shift up into like a 150U because those heads are growing drastically larger under the sun. Beneficial or not, I can't really say. I personally haven't experimented much with it, but like from what I've seen and like here, like the legends talk about pertaining to like the head sizes and differences that it's a little more difficult outside. For me, like cleanliness is huge.
Yeah.
The moment you're outside and you're dealing with wind, you're dealing with dirt, sand, dust, particles we can't really see or feel when we're standing there, but they're inherently getting into and next to the plant and washing it and stuff. It's a little bit noticeable.
Do you do a rinse, like a no wash, your first wash?
So when I wash, I learned like from the Holy Grail from that Frenchie video.
Yeah.
He overpacks the machine with ice, and that's how I learned to do my initial soak.
Okay.
With it overpacked on ice. So basically, there's too much ice in there to do a proper spin.
Okay.
But it holds the material at a good level for that soak. I do a 20-minute soak. Once I hit that 20 minutes on the soak,
Yeah.
I'll feel the material. It might need a little bit more depending on the strain. If you feel like a crunch, you need to let it saturate a little bit more. Once you get to the proper saturation point, I'll do 3 spins. I'll literally turn the machines on at a medium velocity and let it spin 3 times.
Okay.
I turn the machine off and then drain. The amount of hash that you get off that initial 3 spins is pretty shocking. You get a lot of material off of it, and to me that says a lot about the process and that you don't need much agitation to retrieve the heads that we're trying to get. So that right away kind of pushed me to go very, very low velocity on all washes.
But so those 3, that's your first wash?
So I've spent time where I would take that and I would keep those as like a full melt depending on the strain.
Like for temple balls or something.
Yeah, like I had a couple of friends who like really enjoyed smoking full melt, and I would like keep it for them and stuff. And I enjoyed smoking it. It was good for rolling joints and stuff. But eventually it was just kind of like a lot, and I kind of stopped smoking the full melt, and I would just keep that in on my tray. I don't really separate my stuff until wash number 4.
Okay.
So wash 1, 2, and 3 are juicy to me.
Yeah.
On all of the strains that I run. So wash 1, 2, and 3 are A grade material, and I run 45 to 150 on the bag.
Okay.
And that all goes together for the strain. The full spec, done properly to me, is a higher quality product. Flavor-wise, cerebral-wise, it's just higher quality in my opinion. The separated bags, it's cool. I do see how in like competition set scenarios when there's so much good hash going neck and neck, how like you kind of want to isolate that flavor as best as possible, and pulling from the different bags will definitely do that. Unfortunately, in my opinion, it also pulls away from the cerebral effect. I don't knock it. It is what it is. For me and for my process and what I do, the full spec has been the best route for me.
Okay. No, and I agree. I wash pretty much everything as a 45 to 160 bag.
Yeah.
A head's a head, right? Like if it's a 90U head, it's still going to fall in the 45 bag. So
Yeah.
If you're
Good hash is good hash.
Right.
We don't want that 25U chlorophyll,
right.
anything like discolored.
But whether you've got a 73 on the bottom or a 45, if you're still pulling 90% or more 73,
Yeah.
Then doesn't really, like a head to head.
Yeah.
Well, so do you trend towards smaller plants when growing for resin, or do you?
No.
Okay.
No. So I'm very adamant about plant count.
Yeah.
I try and stay within plant count, and I'm all about growing as big as possible.
Okay.
Yeah. So I grow in 10-gallon pots.
Okay.
And I want to grow them big. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's because like David and I have talked about this. Like he has a certain way that he grows, and we're all trying to keep under our plant count, but there's still that strategy of like, do you want smaller smaller, fast flipped plants that only veg like for a couple weeks, and then you're shaving time off,
which is nice.
End,
which is totally nice. I'm basically doing this for like personal head stash, helping out a couple homies. So time is not detriment to me, which you're
not trying to squeeze in another harvest.
Yeah, I'm not like, oh, I can get 9 this year. I don't even know how many I get. I don't even know.
Yeah.
I've never even thought about it till right now.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I just kind of ride the wave, and I like to go big with them. I kind of have like a standard. I want them about chest height before I flip them.
Okay.
Well pruned and stuff.
Clean up the bottoms.
Yeah, clean up the bottoms. No trash down there. Nothing for anything larfy or scraggly or anything like
Even
that.
though you're growing for hash.
Yeah, some strains. I just once we're starting to talk about that, like taking down a larfy, scraggly plant sucks, and taking down a well manicured plant that's just grown good buds is like night and day.
Yeah.
Definitely, I manicure the plants properly and make sure that when we're taking them down, it's as nice as can be with that strain.
Do you have a preference for chop timeline? Like, are you aiming for like an earlier chop, like week 8, or are you kind of, is it strain specific, or how do you?
I usually go week 8 or 9.
Okay.
For me, I don't notice much. A yield difference past that like 9-ish week, I don't want to pull it too early. Like I've just kind of fucked around, and I've pulled some stuff down on like week 5 and 6, like some papaya stuff because I needed some hash to go out to Vegas.
Yeah. And
the yield was horrible, but the flavor was crazy. And like for me and like what I'm doing, I find like week 8 to be like a juicy spot.
Okay.
It kind of is the right time for like my veg plants behind. They're ready to come in. The plants are really well matured. I feel like anything after that, they're just kind of growing bulk, massing up on their weight and size, not so much as the trike development.
Okay.
But yeah, anywhere between week 8, 9. Never am I going like past 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
No long flowering hazes.
No, I mean I've dealt with some like GMOs, Han Solo burgers, and stuff that's like that, and it just doesn't match up with my rooms because like I'm not doing one strain specific. So whenever I've had those long running strains in there, compared to like my Strag Guava that like I'm really known for, which finishes early, they just don't match up. It's like, these things need another 2 weeks compared to the other ones being
done. Right, you can't
done.
have half of a room running.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, okay. Well, since we're already diving into the grow, let's talk a little bit about some rapid fire questions, and then we'll get you out of here.
Cool.
So just recapping, first indoor grow setup compared to current grow setup.
Just
the high level.
Very, very similar. I've changed lighting.
Okay.
The only thing I've changed drastically was lighting. We went from the HPS bulbs to LED.
Okay.
And I'll be honest, the LED is great for power consumption, temp and whatnot. I do believe the HPS grew a higher quality product.
As far as the resin or the flower?
All around. Everything.
Okay.
Resin, weight, terps. I think everything.
Okay.
I also have talked to some friends who are doing some mixed, where they're running the LEDs with some HPS sprinkled in there in between.
Yeah.
And they're getting great results and kind of comparable to what we remember back when we were running the HPS.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I was just having a conversation today with somebody about, the difference and how much, like, they haven't grown since LEDs have really taken over, and so in their mind, HPS was still a viable option. But I hear mixed light, again, in a home grow, in a tent, like, you can only run so much.
Yeah,
right?
you can only fit you can't fit
you could
fixtures in there.
Yeah, I mean, you could duct it well, and you could run un-HPS, probably, but you're not stuffing them in there.
No.
Baking that oven.
No, and it's hard because you in a tent they're just side by side.
Right.
Where you can have 2 like LEDs and then put 1 HPS in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
That is kind of where I've been hearing is kind of like a good money zone for it.
Okay.
but yeah, like from what I see personally, like the LED is cool. It's great for many. It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
You know, we're no matter which one we choose, we're going to be sacrificing something.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're in Tupper, and what's your nutrient regimen? Just natural inputs that you're amending into there?
Yeah. So that I kind of keep.
Oh yeah. No, not I don't need the sauce, but
Yeah. It's
just that
some
you're
it's some
amending.
water it's some water soluble stuff
Okay.
with like 10 things that I've CalMags and.
But you're amending the soil, or you're feeding like
I'm
teas?
I'm
Okay.
feeding teas, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm mixing. I'll mix about a 40-gallon vat. That'll last about 2 feeds, 2 to 4 feeds depending, and then I just kind of hand water.
Okay.
And I adjust my ratios throughout the flower cycle, of course.
Yeah.
And then I flush for about 18 to 19 days.
Okay, and just ceasing all inputs and just water.
Straight water,
Okay.
yeah. And that I've just always done. We've always done like an 18, 19-day flush.
Do you do like an intensive flush before that, or you just like kind of eat up what's left, like a full substrate flush, trying to like.
Yes, like I will flood the plants.
Okay.
and let the pots the pot or the trays will fill up, and I'll vacuum them out.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's a way more water, and I want to see it go through there, and like I'll just keep vacuuming the water out. Maybe take like an hour or so to go through, and just like let them like vacuum it out, and like you'll see the next one like continue
Fill
to
up.
drain. Yeah, and you just kind of go back and forth until like it basically stops.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's been like for flower, that was the most successful for us. Like super white ash and like
Just
smooth
smoke.
yeah, smooth smoke. So I've always continued to do that. I'm not fully convinced that the 19-day flush is fully necessary for rosin. There's some like back and forth and some different theories I have on it, but I haven't like fully tested like short flushes or whatnot. To me, like the plants kind of like it. Like once we get to that that like 18 days left, like they kind of like it. They
Encourages like, hey, it's fall.
Yeah.
Like time's coming up.
Yeah, and the water inherently gets colder too, so like it pushes the fades and whatnot.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I was also gonna ask you about like growing for resin, like if the idea of a flush is to remove anything that's stored, but what's stored is in the biomass. Like how much of an impact does it really have on the actual resin?
Yeah, so what you are is what you eat. I think that the flush helps, and it's getting rid of like the inherent like leftover nutrients. Like obviously we can scientifically test for that, and
Right.
like test an unflushed plant to a flushed plant. But what I was kind of alluding to earlier in talking about what you are is what you eat, like the different nutrients will leave behind different residuals like in the cellulose walls, and when we press those heads and remove the hash from the cellulose walls, like remove the rosin and separate it, different nutrients will inherently leach more residuals than others.
Okay.
And everything does it, no matter what. I'm convinced whatever nutrient line you use will inherently be in the back end of your product. I feel it with mine, and I feel it with all of my friends who do different nutrient lines. Like there's this back end node, and you can almost taste it on every different strain.
Okay.
No matter what, like the cellulose walls and the growth, it takes it on, and
Something's still there.
yeah, it's something still there. You are what you eat. These plants were grown from that food over a very short amount of time. It inherently has to. It is doing something different than whatever other people are doing. As far as the nutrient lines. And that's something that's very important. Not everyone should be doing the same thing. We all have different water sources, and not everything that works for me will work for you. And it's just a matter of, finding that. And I was lucky to stumble on it relatively fast and kind of have things work out. Not every scenario will be like that, though.
And the teas is it like compost and like organics, or are they salts that you're mixing together?
It's quasi-organic. There's some salts in there.
So like the Synganic approach.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You said you're a clones guy. Still a hash guy, or you were smoking a joint here a second ago?
I smoke a lot of flower.
Okay.
I probably smoke more flower throughout the day than rosin.
Okay.
I still dab throughout the day, and like more solo, like when I'm just hanging out and working.
Yeah.
I probably smoke flower because it's easier. I can just have a bowl on the table and like I can make a move
between
on the
working.
piece and like because sometimes when I'm working, like I'll make a move and like I have like a minute while it needs to like cool and set, so I can just literally walk behind and hit the bowl for a second, grab a drink and get back to work.
Okay.
It's not so easy with dabs to do that. I messed around with like having the Puffco, and now I have
with the coil.
I have the coils, but still, even with the coil, there's still like it's a process. It's not as easy as just like smoking some
You
flower.
take 30 seconds of torching off of it, but you still have to do all the other things.
and you heard me say before, like I'm very adamant about full spec. I prefer full spec for sure. So like smoking flower to me is like smoking full spec. Yeah. I
So
want
is
that behind the eyes.
bowl, is that your daily driver that you're holding?
This is the one I'm using right now. Yeah.
Is that something you made?
No, this was made by Alex Ubatuba.
Okay.
He's a local Colorado artist up in the Everdream facilities up there.
He does some crazy work.
Yeah, Alex is pushing the boundaries with the installation stuff, large scale. He's doing stuff that no one else in the Boro scene is doing, and I'm stoked to see what the future holds for him.
What was your first heady?
Oh, gosh. The first one that comes to my mind would probably be a Liberty glass spoon.
Okay.
So, like back in the beginning of like when I got in the pipe scene in like 2012, Liberty Glass was being ran by Buddha.
Okay.
He was a pretty influential guy in the scene, and he was doing the grailed pipes. If you know Liberty now, it's being ran by his best friend.
Okay.
But he was like doing very new techie stuff that no one was doing, and he passed away, and I bought one of his spoons from the pipe. It was a Liberty Glass. I unfortunately had it on my lap in the garden, and I stood up and dropped it.
Oof. Launched it. Oh man. Okay, so you're a rosin guy over melt?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Even like properly done,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, like, I do enjoy melt, but it's still like a little bit more of a dirty process. And
Residual and
yeah, I think I would rather just smoke the flower than the melt, maybe, and then the rosin. I guess I'm just like wanting both ends.
you want like the most filtered and cleanest, or
Yeah.
just give me the flower.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's fair. What genetics are you running, or what would be some breeders you would recommend for home growers that are growing for hash?
So as far as like the breeders and stuff, there's like a lot of big names out there, and I honestly like I haven't paid attention too closely to like the big names and like who's been really prominent. When I was like focused on it,
But like people you've had success with.
The people I've had success with were like just kind of unknown,
Oh, okay.
just kind of individuals who have access to strains.
Got it.
Being in the pipe scene, I kind of have been fortunate to have friends in different parts of the country who are in relatively large scale grows with like a lot of different selection. If you can get that, that's great. If you have a friend who has something, that's great. Seed popping, I wish I had the space for it. From my experience in talking to like big seed poppers, like they say you need to pop like 10,000 seeds to find like an elite. Some people will say 1,000. Some people will be like, oh, I did 6 and I found an elite. Me personally, I had a hard time with it.
Okay.
More power to you if you're successful and you have the space for it. Great.
Otherwise, find a hasher and get a cut.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the route that I've chosen to take. Like my focus is the glass. So
Okay.
I'm like not trying to like hunt it down. Like
Yeah.
I want
You
to,
just want your own hash.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so like for me, the avenue of just getting an elite cut is definitely where it's at. I've been running some of the same strains for a while. The Straw Guava, the Raspberry Chem, I've been running for years.
Okay.
I have some new stuff going through the line like Fantasy Melon, Super Glue, Papaya Punch. There's like a various amount of things that I've kind of like been going in and out of.
Anything you've lost that you wish you could have kept?
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily wish I would have kept, but stuff that is dudded out. Like, I was running the original 14er cut of the Straw Nana,
Okay.
and that was kind of put out a while ago.
Yeah.
And
It's a great cut, though.
those who got that cut loved it. And,
Yeah.
And it was like one of the early like real big hashers that was like just
Unique flavor profile.
and just dumping like crazy
Yeah.
percentages. And that one dudded out on me. Like it was like the first strain that I've ever had dud. And it just like a couple of rounds like just got a little bit worse and worse and worse. And
Did you test it for HLV?
I did not test it. This was before then.
Okay. This just happened to me with my sour papaya. So like,
Yeah, it could have been,
slowly seeing less returns each time.
Yeah, it could have been. I would lean more to like I think it was before that, and I luckily haven't had anything to do with it and haven't had any strains with that.
Yeah.
I have had issues with other stuff. I had taken a cut from a friend locally. I don't even remember the strain. I was getting ready for Glass Vegas. This was probably like 6 years ago, and he brought me a plant, and I'd put it in my bedroom, and like I just focused on glass for like the next 2 months, and like just kind of did the bare minimum. And all of a sudden, I went to my bedroom, and I was like, "What is going on?" And it was just like night and day.
Bugs or?
Yeah, I had russet mites.
Oh.
Yeah, not the regular ones, but the bad russets.
Okay.
They're like the ones that were introduced in California for hemp.
Okay.
And they were like unbeatable, and they killed
I was
everything.
gonna say, what did you do? Did you just have to?
I got rid of every plant in my house it was like 6 or 8 months.
Like house plants too.
House plants, everything.
Yeah.
Bombed, like did very aggressive things. Turned the room up to like 110, or it got
Just baked it.
Just baked the room for like many hours, multiple times, bleached everything.
Yeah.
And for 6 months, just no plants in the house.
Okay.
And that eliminated that problem.
That's
that
an
was the
insane reset.
Yeah, the russet mites are pretty aggressive. Spider mites are super easy. Unfortunately, taking cuts from people, you'll probably deal with spider mites or PM or both. But
Something's coming.
something's coming, and hopefully it's one of those two, because those two are just super easy to deal with and,
Right.
and eliminate.
Okay. So, what's keeping you excited about cannabis these days?
The glass scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, the glass is all I care about now.
Okay.
Yeah, like the hash scene's cool,
It's just the stuff you need to use in glass.
Yeah, we're in the middle of a weird time for the weed scene.
Yeah.
Weed hash. The stability of it is not like really that prevalent. It doesn't seem there. There's prices dropping crazy. There's so much competition. 5 years ago, 9 out of 10 jars that I smelled from other people were like just trash hash. And now 9 out of 10 jars are just phenomenal. People have figured it out.
Yeah.
It's way more competitive now.
And the genetics have gotten better for it.
Genetics, everything is just the knowledge. Everything's gotten better for it, which has kind of allowed more people to do it, and inherently the prices come down a lot. And like to do it for money is hard. It's not really my thing. It's great to have like endless supply of hash to smoke. You know what I mean?
Right. Just pull jars out.
Yeah, and flour, which is great. But for me, it's the glass.
Okay.
The glass is where it's at. There's always going to be people smoking weed and hash, no matter where the prices go on it.
Yeah.
And now that we've crossed over into art, we're able to make pipes that are considered as art. So it's really hard to kind of like go backwards from that.
Okay. Do you have like an all-time grail artist you would love to collab with, like dead or alive?
Oh no, I mean the list is so long.
Okay, yeah. No,
It's
that's fine.
crazy. Like it's like asking me like what my favorite food is. I love all
Right.
food, and like there's so many artists out there who are doing great things, whether if they're like long established artists who have been doing it for a while and new artists. There are a few who are like pushing boundaries and doing very unique things. Like we were looking and talking about Jenkins Glass and stuff like that. I'd have to say Calm, Combo. He does the owls and birds, and some of his stuff is up there with my favorite. Just the feeling it gives you
Aesthetic.
when you look at it, like invoke. It's just for me it really is appealing. But there's artists. I mean, the list is endless, and living out here in Colorado with all these artists who are working here. I feel super fortunate to be able to work with them, and I feel like I just keep on finding out about new artists that I didn't know were here, whether if they're new artists or established already, and it's just phenomenal where we're at here in Colorado for the glass scene.
Yeah, I mean we're an epicenter for a lot of things that I think we forget when we live here.
Yeah, and there was a lot of drama, maybe like 5 years ago during COVID and stuff, there was like a lot of drama amongst the glass scene and glass blowers and like the shops and like who can go where and who can work with who. And, over the past couple of years, it really feels like everything has just calmed down. No one really gives a fuck about any of that, and everyone's just like making cool art and humbled out a little bit and
Just doing their part to get it into the hands of people who appreciate it.
just earning their seat at the table. And the community out here has really been great the past couple of years.
No, I couldn't agree more. What advice would you give to growers who might be considering making hash at home? Just growers in general.
So there's two parts. You need to figure out how to grow. You need to grow a plant and get it chopped down and frozen in your freezer. Learning how to do that is one aspect of it. The other aspect is learning how to wash. So find out your source of knowledge, whether if it's a friend or if you're doing your research yourself. If you start doing your research yourself, there's all sorts of people who are putting the info out there now. Do your best to pick out one or a few who are giving you knowledge that you believe in and go with it. And stick with it and find a final product. And if you like it, continue to evolve on that. If you don't like it, change some things that you drastically think need to be changed. For making hash, Frenchy Cannoli has 2 videos out there. I don't know the name of them. You can go on YouTube. I don't know if it's his lab tech who he was working with or his wife, but whoever's running the Instagram now is posting these videos still adamantly on Instagram. They're very well accessible. There's videos of him in a pole barn and on the back porch of him 100% taking frozen flour and washing it and converting it into rosin. And those old videos are where like the heat tech came from, like the OGs, like that were doing heat tech originally, like when they were watching.
Like for BHO, you mean? Or
no, for rosin.
Rosin.
For
Okay.
rosin, yeah. Because we watched in those videos, you'll watch at the end of them, Frenchie likes to take his wine bottle and he'll fill it with water and he'll have it temp to like 200 and you hear him say it 220 degrees and he starts rolling out his hash. And the guys back in like 10 years ago who were like learning rosin, they watched him do that and they were like, well, let me see what my oven does at 220 degrees. And like that's how all that started. Like I'm convinced, like from those videos. I mean, you literally hear him say it.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm rolling this with a 220 degree bottle because he does it on his parchments, and that's how he likes to press out his final product into his temple balls and stuff like that. But yeah, that's where the heat tech end of it came from, in my opinion.
Okay, so without diving into it too much, you're a fan of you're not concerned about adding heat at the end as part of that
No,
process?
I adamantly heat tech my product.
Okay.
I do it definitely different than other people. I've spent like many years. So, like again, like when I started doing this, it was like out of spite of the rosin or the resin diamond thing
I'm
going
gonna
bad.
make the same thing.
So I want to make diamonds out of rosin, and I tried. You know what I mean? I was doing, and you see a couple people now. You'll see Brackham's over on the West Coast. He's been experimenting with it. I feel like just like anyone who goes through the process, he's starting with the small diamonds. You get very little sand particles, and you'll get a bed of it on the bottom.
Yeah, like that applesauce like texture.
Yeah, like an applesauce texture, and you'll get like if you have like an ounce jar, you'll get maybe like 10% of the volume on the bottom, 10 to 20% to be like small like diamond particles, and then the rest will be what will look like distillate or
like a syrupy,
decarbed material type thing. And I spent a lot of time messing with that, and I literally I've cooked like whole rooms. Like I cooked like 20 grand in hash before, like
just trying to learn,
dude. Just messed it up. And over the years I figured it out, and it's a little proprietary. But the one thing that I adamantly like tell people, and when I talk to them about it, I firmly believe that a higher temp for a shorter amount of time will be less detrimental to your material than a lower temp for a longer amount of time.
Okay.
And that's specifically for rosin that we're going to be dabbing. Okay. Taking that theory and putting it into cart material did not work.
Okay.
The same for me. Did not work the same. But for like final rosin product and jarring up, higher temp faster is far more efficient.
General rule of thumb.
For what I've been doing, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's good to know, because I would have leaned more into like, well, if I do it low and slow.
Oh yeah.
You know, I probably.
And that's the problem with heat tech. So when the perception of heat tech is pretty negative.
Yeah.
If you go amongst the community and you're like heat tech, yay or nay, everyone's like no.
Everyone's like cold cure only.
Cold cure only, and I get it, because a really big name who has put a lot of influence on the heat tech end, he does it his way. I don't agree with it. It's the wrong way, in my opinion. Doing it slow in a vac oven without vac, just doing it slow at that low temp, destroys the material, makes it harsh on your throat. It makes it like a weird viscosity to even handle or jar to look at. It's far less appealing than like a cold cure jar. What I do, I call it more of a creme brulee. It's not a sauce or anything like that. It's more of a creme brulee. So it's got a more crystalline honeycomb surface with a softer, juicier product, juicier underneath it. Yeah. And the heat tech for me, it's a fact. I can take a jar of the same strain heat tech and a cold cure of the same strain, washed and processed at the same time, and leave them on the table. The heat tech will stay the same. It will not degrade whatsoever for 3-4 months. 6 months into it, you'll see slight color change.
You mean like that oxidization?
Yeah, it takes a long time. Cold cure, that same jar of cold cure will start changing within 1 week. You know what I mean? At like room temp, I'll see it transfer and start to oxidize and change color and go into a darker grade. And
so shelf stability would be.
Shelf stability is huge. It's wild. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. For me, I mean, that's one aspect of it. The nose, when you open the jar, is way more prevalent. The texture of it, it's great. It helps my materials stand out.
Yeah.
It's not just like a cold cure jar, whipped up. Like I see everywhere. Yeah. So it's a little bit different. I'm trying to bring it a little bit different to the community.
Okay. Do you whip then, or do you just leave it once you've heated it?
I just leave it.
Okay.
Yeah. I know some people who will get it and whip it. So personally, so sometimes I'll do this for a 4 gram jar.
Yeah.
And I do it it's got to be a clear jar for me to do it.
Okay.
But in the 4 gram jar, and then they're just great, with a creme brulee top.
Right.
And just being able to chisel into
dessert,
it. Yeah. You just kind of work your way down and create this edge, and just keep on working your way to the other side of the jar.
Right.
And Yeah, just kind of something different that I've been trying to bring to the community. I'm not saying it's better or worse, but like for my material and what I do, it works great. I prefer it over than the cold cure. I think it smokes better. It's smooth, flavors all there, clean. Faster? What do you mean?
Like a cold cure, like at room temp, just letting it sit for a week or more.
Yeah, a cold cure happens overnight.
Yeah?
Yeah, not 99 out of 100 strains. So like if I finish like pressing and throw some material in a jar, and I turn off my AC and just leave the jars on the table and leave the room will sit about like 68, 72 degrees. Usually it'll cure out overnight.
Meaning it'll go from that like translucent fresh press look to like
creamy, to a creamy opaque batter all the way through,
and then you just
ready for a full whip if you want to.
Or heat or whatever you're gonna do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, for those who have stuck around this long and enjoyed this, where can people find you if they want to learn more about what you're up to?
So my main Instagram is BC_glass. That's like my main focus. I'm just trying to make like the best bongs as nice as possible and like push the boundaries with that. That's my main Instagram. I also have for the bubble cups, it's bc.bubble.cups.
Okay.
And that will bring you to like the aquarium page where I'm doing those. Kind of something interesting to see if you want to check out like some different corals, different alien-like world.
Yeah.
But yeah, the BC_glass is the main link for what I'm doing. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming out.
That's it for now. New episodes drop weekly to help you grow better weed and make better hash. Hit subscribe, leave a review, share with a friend. As always, I'm your host, Ben Owens, and we'll see you next time.